Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
Ian, hello. Hi, nice to see you.
See you too. Thank you for joining me.
This is great. I'm very pleased that you're putting that initiative together. That's well done you. I took a look at all the various hats that you wear. I'm very impressed.
It's a lot of that.
A lot of kettles in the fire. That's very interesting.
Keeping it busy, but trying to pivot to what we can do to make a difference here. And
You betcha.
we find you in the south of France. Is that where we're?
Yes, sir.
All right, beautiful.
Thank you. It's pretty beautiful, except that tomorrow is going to be a bit stormy, and I know that might affect what we end up doing together. Because I was curious about the format of the wine part. I've heard about these. I mean, we've done a lot of different things, but I've never done one exactly like this. So tell me how you see the event going.
Sure. So at this point, we have been going course by course. The chef has prepared a little video about each course. And so we're going to cover that, and then we'll do a little educational component on each wine, showing a slideshow. And basically what we want to do is just say hi and kind of connect with you and talk about, the brand a little bit. And we'll taste with William on the Zoom when the bottles are open and things like that. But we just want to hear, just a little personalization and be able to have a little moment with you as we can't get together, but we can do this amazing thing online. So I thought it'd just be fun to spend a minute talking to you about your brand, and have that personal moment with the audience.
Absolutely. So I wasn't sure from William's emails, but is this something? So if you had a magic wand, the winemakers would be live on the Zoom?
I mean, possibly. That would be asking way too much. But I think that the magic of this Zoom product allows me to record you right now and then play it back later and really kind of piece together like a DJ segueing music. I'm segueing videos together and creating this, international gathering, because we'll have people dining, or they're not in a single room together either. Everyone's in their home, and we're dispersing the food and the wine throughout the entire city. So it's quite a undertaking, but all very feasible when you put the right tools to work and we stay organized. So it's something that I enjoy, the diversity of it all, the complexity of it all, but also the challenge, and hopefully the technology gods are kind.
Yeah, like the weather gods. We're all doing a lot of praying these days, and the health and safety gods. Gosh. So how about the following then? So I wasn't sure if today we were just touching base and sort of you were telling me what you'd like to do, or if we were actually doing it today. What works best for you?
I'm fine to kind of, what I would do is do a kind of hard stop right here. I kind of wave my hands a little bit to show me and the video producer to cut the first 15 minutes out here, and then we'll just go right into it. We'll pretend like we're in the dinner experience, and I'll introduce you, and then we'll learn about your brand with a couple quick questions. It's probably 5 to 6 minutes of sound bites.
Right.
I will have a PowerPoint that shows some pictures that I'll play before or after I talk with you. And so it's more about your connection with the brand. You can tell, I believe there's a story about a nephew of yours. I think I remember this 11-year-old chef. Was this
Chef prodigy?
Yeah.
He's older now. He's almost 18 or something. But he's definitely on the fast track and to loving this stuff. How nice to know when you're 10 or 11 what you love, right? I mean, most of us don't have that luxury.
Exactly. I mean, I've had a really long relationship with the chef. We worked together back in the 90s. So I've been involved with the opening of the restaurant and everything through the evolution. So I remember this, and it's a little blurry when it was, but I remember hearing about it or seeing it happen, and that was quite a cool little story. And you know, I learned about your brand a couple of years ago. So and it certainly came in, you know, in a moment where the world was starting to wake up to natural and biodynamic wines in a bigger and more meaningful way. And there was quite a bit of wow when your brand was introduced. So I'd love to kind of present that and have you tell us the story about the brand and the origin and your connection and what makes your brand your brand.
Great. I'm happy to talk about that. And also, I guess our specialty, or at least what we wake up in the morning trying to do, is make wines in that little spot in the Venn diagram between stuff that is respectful of the planet, respectful of the well-being of their consumers, and also actually tastes really good and acts like a fine wine with not just no faults, but also good aging potential, good structure, good balance, all the stuff that wine appreciators like. So the hard thing is to make everybody happy, and that's really what we try to specialize in. So we're definitely happy to talk about that.
So I got to ask two questions. One, how do I introduce you? What is your title, and are you ownership or partnership, or what is your plot there?
So we are, my husband and I own the property, and I'm the principal at Chêne Bleu. And I work with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. So it's very much a family affair.
Nice.
And so I'm spinning many plates. It's a small company, so as you can imagine, we all do a lot of everything. But I studied at UC Davis and you know, and in Europe, and so initially was much closer to the winemaking side. At this point, I'm the chief sort of, I don't want to say problem solver, because everybody has problems in their own areas, but somehow I'm always at the foreground, sort of how would you say this? Taking on the most important new parts of the rollout of this very demanding project. So it's kept me on airplanes a lot in the last couple of years because of wanting to roll out the brand in many countries. And now it's been actually during COVID, really wonderful to have the luxury to be spending much more time at the winery than I have in the last 3-4 years. So it's good to be back.
Well, where were you born?
I was born in Manhattan, in New York.
All right.
And I went to French lycées there, because my father is French and Italian.
Ah.
And
where did you meet your husband?
He was living in London and I was in New York, and he had just purchased this winery in France, which was the apple of his eye. He had been wishing since he was a young boy to have the opportunity to make wine in France, because he had grown up all over France, but his family was connected to the Jura Rolais, so you may know the Domaine Rolais in the Jura. So he worked there and was very passionate about that, and was hoping that one day he would have the means to do that, and there was no money in his family, so he tried to figure out how he could fast track his way to being able to purchase that. He needed his MBA in the US and worked in banking, and as soon as he could afford it, he went on the hunt to find the ultimate vineyard, and ended up looking in the more traditional places when suddenly he came across this abandoned medieval priory and its 9th century vineyard and all this exciting stuff, and decided to restore this historic site. It's in a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. It's a bird refuge. It's an incredibly exciting place with crazy biodiversity. And that was very important to him because he's a big conservationist. So he was doing sustainability way before it was a hashtag. So it's been a big adventure, because in those days it was really very novel and very disruptive to suggest that you could make Grand Cru quality in lesser known areas. Hopefully that's changed a lot.
What is the actual AVA that you're occupying?
So we sit on top of 4 appellations. We have Côte du Rhône, Côte du Ventoux, Séguré, Gigondas, and some Vin du Pays, actually. And so because our parcelles have a lot more in common with each other than with their respective valleys, being way up in the mountains, we actually took a lot of our wines out of the appellations so that we would have the freedom to mix and match these grapes that were coming from the appellations that were very disparate in terms of style and reputation in the valley, and yet where we are, they have a lot more in common with each other than with their valleys below.
So that's quite a modern mindset as far as appellation goes, and plays well into your hand, and you're not necessarily structured into being just a Gigondas or a Côte du Rhône, but you can play freely there. Do you have to classify the wine as a wine of France, or how do you classify?
We put it in Vin du Pays, in IGP, and for the most part, sometimes we'll stick it into the appellation. We have good relations with the appellations, and we're getting increasingly excited, in particular, about the guys in Ventoux, because that was a very sleepy appellation with lots of upside and incredible micro terroirs, but kind of lacking vision, lacking coherence, not understanding the treasure trove of microorganisms and microsoils and all sorts of exciting things that they were sitting on. And a sort of a group of us have gotten really excited about showcasing what these micro terroirs can do, and it's really fun to work with them. I think you'll be seeing a lot of exciting stuff coming out of the Ventoux in the next few years.
Cool. Well, I want to start from the top, and now that I feel like I have a better position to talk to you, and we'll try to put something fairly concise, and I apologize that it's not too lengthy, but maybe in the future we can do a really deeper dive on Chêne Bleu, because it sounds fascinating.
It's very exciting. There's so much, and I don't want to bore you today, and nor do I have the time, unfortunately, because I have something in 15 minutes, although I'm happy to meet at any other time tomorrow if that's better. Before we started, I just wanted to check one thing with you. I wasn't expecting you to film, which was just no problem. Are you happy with this backdrop? I mean, it's not exactly what you expect from a winemaker, but it is the thinking person's wine, right? There are many, many layers of complexity and thought and sophistication that go into thinking about how we do what we do. And it's a wine that tends to appeal to people who like to, oh dear, all those horrible, do you hear those reminders on my computer or not? Did you hear that?
That was me. So
okay. And it tends to appeal often to people who like to have things that have true purpose, beauty, meaning, that no shortcuts, that kind of thing. And so I think what ends up happening is we end up with a demographic of people who appreciate the slightly disruptive, edgy, ahead of the curve thought leadership, that kind of pushing the boundaries. And then it's not going to be a wine that's going to really attract the sort of dyed-in-the-wool collectors who want sort of trophy wines that are very established and been doing the same thing the same way for the last 300 years, all of that. And so I think that's more interesting, because you surround yourself with exciting, interesting people who are all thinking in their own right about what's next in their own fields. And that's why I created this think tank, which is called Fine Minds for Fine Wines. And part of the now a new organization we created, which is the Areni Global Institute for the Future of Fine Wine, which is really exciting and stuff like that. And I'm very passionate about Grenache.
You wear a lot of hats too. I could see. All right, so we're gonna do like 5 minutes because I want to keep your time. And
I want to do 5 minutes, but I have a tiny technical thing before we start.
Okay, and you look great, by the way. So.
Oh, is that okay? I mean, as I said, these are sort of glorified pajamas. But all right. So a quick question for you. Eye contact, because when you showed the screen like that, so my video is my computer's a bit strange, and it's on the video's on the bottom.
I won't be doing this at all. I just want you to see the course and the wine that we're serving, which is the 2011. And if you can pronounce
Eloise. Yeah, Eloise from Vaucluse. Yeah.
Vaucluse, Eloise.
It's the northernmost province of Provence, and it's the province of Avignon and Châteauneuf-du-Pape and stuff like that.
And IGP is Protégé. What's the
indication géographique protégée.
Okay, perfect. All right, and I was able to photograph with the chef this last weekend all the food, and we made a beautiful video.
That's fantastic. I saw it. It's great.
Okay, so I will end this share screen, and we will just have you as the view. And when you start speaking, I will be the primary view as I introduce you, and then we'll just go for 5 minutes, and here we go. I'm making this kind of noise so that I can remind myself where I'm at. And action. I'm very pleased to introduce you to Nicole Rollet. She is the partner, owner, winemaker, and all things new, exciting project manager for Chêne Bleu. And this is a really dynamic project in France, in the Rhone Valley. And welcome to our dinner, Nicole.
Ian, I'm so proud of you for putting together such an interesting program. I've participated in a number of Zooms of the last period, and this one is definitely one of the most exciting. And I wish I were there enjoying that food and being with you this evening.
Thank you so much. We love doing these type of things, and it's great to get the best in the business involved. And I'm so excited because I have a long partnership with Wilson Daniels, been in the business for a long time, and to look at their portfolio and to see this jewel Chêne Bleu in the book, and it's an opportunity to teach our audience a lot about this fantastic project that you and your husband started when?
My husband found this place a bit over 25 years ago. It was a bit of a fluke. He was looking in more traditional places, and then he saw a weathered photograph in the window of a real estate agent and said, you know, for the price of 2 hectares in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, 30 hectares, 135 hectares of private forest and a UNESCO biosphere reserve up at the top of a mountain, no pollution, no neighbors. It sounded too good to be true, and never looked back. We were very, very lucky though that his sister and her husband joined us, and she runs the vineyard today, he runs the winery. It's just been a fantastic family project, and we're very lucky that our progeny are quite interested in taking over from us as well. So we really are on the 1,000-year plan. It's about 1,000 years old. It's a 9th century priory. Wow. And we certainly hope that we'll be leaving it better for the next guys.
Well, I know you have a lot of initiatives there with your natural processes and also your concern about the ecosystem, and we all appreciate that more and more every day. It seems like when I first noticed your brand, this was still kind of a novel idea, and it's now become, you know, probably the most important and noteworthy part of our wine industry is our ability to sustain and to flourish and to have a low footprint on the planet, and also in producing products that are healthy and age-worthy and beautiful. And I think you check all those boxes. What does Chêne Bleu mean? Is that just the name of the estate that came with it, or is that a name that you came with?
It's been called La Verrière since 1427 because there was a glassblowing workshop here. But when we were looking for a name for the wine, we decided to name it after this incredible, iconic oak tree that had lost its leaves. It was at the border of the vineyard and the forest. By painting it with copper sulfide, we thought we were not just showcasing that incredibly beautiful natural history, but also highlighting the slightly edgy profile that we were bringing to this medieval meets modern project. So we decided that even though we knew one day that the oak would fall, it was a symbol for the fact that we like to work with nature and within her rules. And credit very much goes to my husband, who's a big conservationist and was always very ahead of the curve on understanding the importance of that before sustainability was a hashtag. And I think nowadays, hopefully more and more people are waking up to the importance of that, moving away from monoculture, understanding your microbiome, understanding how everything is connected. And if you do want to work sustainably, it's a lot harder to get the right systems in place, but then they keep going. So hopefully others, many more are going to be following suit.
Beautiful. And I want to encourage everybody on this project, this Zoom project tonight, to look deeper into what they're doing at Chêne Bleu. It's really a beautiful story. The wine that we're tasting tonight is classified as an IGP, an Indication of Geography Protégé, which is a category in the French wine law that allows the boundaries of this wine not to be necessarily dictated like a typical AOC. And the winery kind of sits on top of a number of different appellations in the Rhone Valley. And so tonight we're doing a Vaucluse. Am I pronouncing that correct?
Vaucluse.
Vaucluse.
Very good.
And the wine's called Eloise.
Absolutely. So Abelard and Eloise are the most famous French lovers. They had a crazy, passionate love affair in the 11th century that was very hot and heavy, very controversial, and got them into lots of trouble. But they had a huge impact on Western civilization in many areas. And when we wanted to show you what was special about this vineyard, it was kind of shorthand for the fact that we're very far south on the same latitude as Châteauneuf, but very high up in the mountains, which gives us a much more northern Rhone, cooler climate profile with this mountain fruit that keeps a lot of freshness, even though it gets the texture and the stickiness, the concentration that you associate with hotter climates in the southern Rhone. And so this duality of sort of yin and yang, north and south, we associated it a bit with the masculine, feminine, and so that was a way to showcase sort of opulence and elegance coming together in one tiny little enclave. And Eloise is really showcasing this very cooler climate mountain style Syrah that you would normally find more in the northern Rhone, and that we have fleshed out a little bit with the fleshier Grenache that we have. It's got a lovely muscular texture to it. And then a secret ingredient, which we took inspiration from the northern Rhone, where they also have an elegant structured Syrah, but sometimes lacking a little bit of that sex appeal that you would get with the more sunny climate Syrah. So the secret is to put in a splash of white wine. And we started with paint by numbers. Up until 2011, the vintage that you'll be trying, we were using the Viognier, which is the classic white wine that they use. But we've actually changed over to Roussanne in 2011 because we think that it adds a lovely fleshiness as well as the beautiful perfumey aromatics that you associate with Roussanne as well. So hopefully you don't mind all the disruption, but we do think it's the best way to showcase the best parcels of our terroir.
Beautiful. Well, we're excited to try it with a beautiful course, classic dishes tonight from French bistro lineup, and we're doing it with a beef bourguignon. And you have a little bit of a connection to Melisse as well.
Absolutely. It was one of the first restaurants that was brought to my attention when I was hearing about how the US food and wine scene had been evolving so dramatically in the US in all the time that I had moved to Europe when I met my husband. And they had told me specifically that LA was becoming a very important food scene and wine scene as well. And they mentioned specifically that Melisse was sort of leading the charge. And in that context, it turns out we had a funny family connection because I have this fantastic nephew in LA, Rio Castor, who is a prodigy chef, and at the tender age of 11 already had his own catering company to the stars and all that stuff. And he had been given the opportunity to train at Melisse and had said the most wonderful things about it. So it was on my radar from the start, and it's a real honor to be featured in the same menu as the incredible cuisine of Chef Joshua Citrin.
Well, thank you so much. We're very pleased to be able to taste the wine. And I know William will guide us through this tasting. And have you had the 11 lately?
Yes, we like to hold our vintages back, or sort of on the Vega Sicilia release plan. So the 12s are only now going to be rolling out in the fall. So it's very, very much the vintage to be drinking at the moment. So you should be finding it smack into its drinking period. We try to build them to last, and that's something that's a characteristic of our vineyard, is to take our time and try to do things right.
Spectacular. We're real excited. We thank you for your time, and we'll make sure you get a copy of our complete event so you can see how it all unfolded. And I thank you, and we look forward to visiting you in and near the Gingondas area when we return to travel and visit you in the Rhone Valley. And we thank you so much.
Please do. We've set up the Priory now as a guest house, and we can accommodate visitors from around the world as soon as you are able to travel again, and we really look forward to that. So I really please encourage you to take me up on that offer, and bring Chef Citrin as well. We have a Bonnet kitchen waiting for him, and it would be a real pleasure to do something special here for you as well.
Top of my list. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian. Well done.
Have a good day.